Yesterday was the latest incident where more names landed on the COVID-19 reserve list, players testing positive, and all the indications of an outbreak.
Yeah, right.
And as of late yesterday morning, the Browns had closed their facility. There were at least, I think, 10 guys now on the COVID-19 reserve list. And it was creating the sense that it was another Baltimore, where every day it was going to be the Clarence Beeks crop report. Who's next? How many more? How deep does this go? But the league said on a conference call yesterday they've determined there isn't an outbreak, that this is just guys getting it in the community. Yesterday, Chris, there were 8 players league-wide put on the COVID-19 reserve list. 7 of them were because of positive tests, not close contact. So it gives you an idea of the reality that this is unavoidable as the numbers keep going up and up and up, even though we have gotten numb to it. I saw that the daily deaths in the United States are up near 4,000 a day. I remember when it was 1,000 a day, and we were like, holy crap, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
1,000 people a day are dying from this, and now it's almost 4,000, and it was like, well, what can you do? Well, what you can do is all the stuff we should have been doing all along, and these measures, given the extent of the spread, are making it still very, very difficult to avoid the virus, as evidenced by the fact getting more and more NFL players. And the protocols from the NFL's perspective stop the virus from moving on to others in the building.
Right.
And that's what's worked for the NFL.
It has.
The problem is you can reach a critical mass of players who aren't available. You can say, hey, there's no outbreak. All of these guys who are on the COVID-19 reserve list are on for reasons completely unrelated to being exposed to the virus in our building. Unfortunately, there's 35 guys now on the COVID-19 reserve list due to exposures and infections they've sustained outside of the building. There's a point where you just don't have enough players.
Yeah.
And that's my concern in the postseason, that we could get to that point.
Yeah, that's what's scary. And what is that point? Where's the line of demarcation there, you think, Mike? I mean, that's where I'm interested here. And of course the NFL is, I'm sure, a little nervous. It's Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. There's playoff intentions all across the league here, and everything that's going on. So they don't want to reschedule and move the whole playoffs, do anything like that. I know they can't. Right?
What can you do?
I know exactly. What can you do? Exactly right. I mean, the only thing you could do is you'd have to wait for it to end and bump the playoffs back a week or something like that and play this game at some other point. But of course, no one wants to do that in the NFL, and they shouldn't. But I am interested in that aspect of, is that where that committee comes into play at some point that we talked about, to where we get to playoff football? And what is the number, right? I mean, is 20, we're going to just go, yep, you could still play, but we get to 30, and then the team's going to go, or the NFL's going to go, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to know what, they think is realistic or even fair to a team to go out there and play.
Frankly, I think that
they don't give a damn.
I think as long as you got 11 guys,
they're going to make you go.
Total 11.
Right.
They're going to make you go.
I like it.
And
good.
Because at a certain point, and this is the argument that you made way back when.
Yeah.
Even though guys are getting it in the community, there's a certain point where the team must be responsible for the fact that their guys are not avoiding it in the community.
Right.
You still can avoid it.
Right.
And if it is getting bad in Cleveland, and they said during the conference call yesterday, Cleveland right now is one of the areas where NFL teams are located where it is as bad as it's ever been. Well, that's when you go straight home into your hermetically sealed room and you stay there until it's time to emerge with limited interaction with anyone, and then you go back to work. That's the best alternative to staying in a hotel, and we've heard limited talk about even a voluntary playoff bubble. They're comfortable now with the idea of guys going from facility to home. There's this paranoia, I think, among the NFL about putting everyone in a hotel, because if it somehow gets in,
then it's an outbreak.
It ain't getting out.
Right.
Then how do you avoid an outbreak if all the players and the coaches and everyone else are confined to one hotel and it somehow gets in there? So they're hoping this model works. And yeah, look, I think it's extreme to suggest that as long as there are 11 players in uniform who can play offense, defense, and special teams for a full 60 minutes, the league will say go ahead and play. But I think that no tears will be shed for the team that sees itself in this predicament where that many guys have caught it away from the facility, because the NFL's attitude is at some point it's on you to make sure that your guys aren't catching it away from work.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it. I get it, and like I said all along, I think that's the best way to keep some sort of incentive for the players to know that they got to be on their P's and Q's to get their team to be healthy and be able to play football. I mean, if I'm a parent player right now too, and I'm going into the playoffs, like I'm telling my kids, like, hey kids, we're not going to school this month. We're going to do Zoom calls. We're doing Zoom. You can go and join your class that way, whatever. I'd be very worried about this time of the year if I was a Drew Brees or whatever, any big time quarterback that with a family. That would certainly be crossing my mind right now. But I think it is the right approach. I like it in some way, in a lot of ways, Mike. I really do. Because, again, if a Baltimore Ravens type situation arose in the playoffs, it's not fair to everybody in the playoffs if Baltimore, like, the supposed strength coach who avoided all protocols, he does that. Well, okay, fine. Screw you, Baltimore. You didn't care about the playoffs, and screw you. You're going to lose this weekend. And I think that's the way it should be for right now.
I think a forfeit, a much more likely outcome in the postseason than in the regular season.
Really?
Because in the regular season, again, that idea of a forfeit, Chris, it had business complications, because the NFL failed to negotiate the agreement with the NFLPA to allow for players not to be paid in the event of a forfeit. They didn't want to go there because they knew that based on how everything was written and negotiated, there was a good chance they were going to have to pay. It's a different deal altogether, I think, in the postseason. And, what are you going to do? You can't stop the entire playoffs because one team did something ridiculously stupid and isn't able to play. I'm not saying it would happen, but I'm saying there's a greater likelihood because it is much harder to move around games when you're talking about everyone playing at once and then moving on to the next round where the winners play. We'll be talking.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.